Welcome to Thriving in Multifamily, a visionary podcast brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. Join in as we explore motivation, inspiration, and engage in thought-provoking conversations. We provide actionable ideas to help you establish a solid foundation to achieve your career goals. I am your host, Lissi Daniels, and I'm excited to bring you inspiring stories that will empower you to reach your full potential. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Thriving in Multifamily, a visionary podcast. I am your host, Lissi Daniels, and on today's episode, we're going to dive into growth, leadership, importance of team culture in the workplace, inspirational insights, your journey, everything, all with this great guest, a thought leader in our industry, Micah Statson, who is the president of Optimized Waste Removal. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode and this podcast today.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So Micah, tell us a little bit about your story, you know, how you got started, let us all know a little bit about you.
Yeah. My story's pretty unique. We're based here in Fort Worth. That's where I currently live, but I did not go into multifamily really on purpose. I had no idea what I was getting into. I actually come from an engineering background. I worked in the defense industry, and I don't know if many of your listeners probably have seen the most recent Top Gun movie where there's the Dark Star that's going Mach 10 super fast. They hired a group called Skunkworks to help them design that for the movie, and that's the group I work for.
Oh, wow.
Prior to starting my trash company, I'm not some super genius. I just worked with them. The comparison I like to give people is if you're watching a movie and you see like a top secret environment, somehow like the floors are always clean and it just looks real put together. Like someone has to do that. So that was kind of my role, and I had always loved the idea of entrepreneurship and starting my own company, and just the way timing was in life, I decided to give that a shot. And so I was living in an apartment complex, paid someone to take out my trash 5 nights a week through Valet Trash Service, and thought, this has got to be super easy. I can do this. And that's kind of how the story began, and how we entered multifamily, and where I come from and where we're currently at.
Wow. That is pretty amazing. It's so amazing how individuals like tap into our industry or how their story started and then where they grow. But then for you to kind of tap in and build your complete business off of that is truly amazing. And how long have you been thriving in your business?
Oh, thriving, not that long. Been in the business about 4.5 years. It was brutal getting started. I who's counting? But based on my last time I checked, it took me 1,396 cold calls or emails to get our first deal. So the first year was a struggle for no doubt. So
Yeah.
I would say the last probably year and a half, 2 years, it's been fun. Like I would say thrive is
I
a good
love
word.
that. I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, who's counting? You said 1,396 cold calls.
Yeah,
Was that
cold calls and emails, but the majority were calls. Yeah,
oh, wow.
it was pretty tough.
But that goes to show you the persistent and the resilience when it comes to business and entrepreneurship and building that. I mean, that is no joke. I mean, I even for myself stepping out and trying to work through that and get the business and build that. So kudos to you on that. So I want to really kind of tap into what keeps you motivated with that, from having that first year to where you're at with your goals and your passions that drive you.
Yeah. Well, first I was terrified of failure, and so in-game failure. I don't mind the little failures day to day. So that motivated me, and still does motivate me pretty hard. I'm very competitive, and
Yeah.
tell me
Yeah.
like, hey, I want to start this business. Even if it fails, I want to at least tell people I at least got one check in the mail at some point. So
Yeah.
we stayed pretty ambitious, and then aggressive as far as our growth, and we still have. But yeah, just I love to improve things, make things better. So that really motivates me. Even the name of our company is Optimized Waste Removal, and the whole idea being optimizing, improving, making better every day,
Mhm.
and that kind of keeps me going, because none of us are perfect. We never will be, but we can try to be better every day.
Yeah, I love how you said two things. You said some positive nuggets. And one thing about me, I'm always pulling gems out of people. And, and that was failure. We never want to fail. Who wants to fail, right? Not on the big things or the small ones. But if you don't fail, how do you grow, right? How do you learn? How do you build from that? But at the same time, we're not perfect, right? We're all growing. It's all about that progression, right? Over progress. And so I love how you tapped into that. So kudos for those. I always like to pull those things out on that. What do you think are some of people's common challenges when it comes to their journeys,
Yeah, I mean, one, it's persistence, it's
Mm-hmm.
loneliness, especially if you're a business owner. And then just going into multifamily specifically, if you're
Yeah.
an outsider, it's an extremely relational industry, which is awesome from about year three and on. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're starting a company and you don't know anybody, it's pretty tough. Or if you're trying to prove yourself in a new area, like whether you were vendor side or you were on site and then you make a transition, it can be really tough to prove yourself on the other side. And so
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's one of the biggest challenges and hurdles I think for anybody is the relational piece. But then it just kind of it flips at a certain point. People know who
Yeah.
you are. People trust you. You've kind of built your brand, whether it be personal or
Mm-hmm.
related to the company you work for. And yeah, I don't know if that's a perfect answer, but that's kind of what I would say.
Remember, there's no perfect answers, or this is all truly, but it does make sense. It's about building your brand and making those connections. And how do you build those relationships, right? You really tapped on one good thing is how are you actively getting involved to build those relationships to grow? Because that's the biggest part of building your brand and, of course, within your business,
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
totally agree with you.
and the active involvement. I mean, that's critical. Like I love
Yeah.
what you said there because it can be on so many different levels. So for us, active involvement was the apartment associations. We just went head first in that right when we started, and it led to opportunity.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So, who has been some of your biggest inspirations within the industry or even personal? I always think someone drives us or inspires us to be better than who we are, but would look up to.
Yeah, so I don't want to leave anybody off, so I'm just going to do a category of people.
Oh, I love
As a
that.
as a supplier partner, your best friends are other supplier partners, especially if you're early on. You should spend as much or more time getting to know suppliers than you do prospective properties to work with or serve. There's
Mm-hmm.
just so much wisdom out there. I'm still young in my career as far as multifamily goes. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much more for me to learn, but every time I go across a situation that I'm experiencing for the first time, I have a Rolodex full of people that I can call that have gone through it 5 times, and they just are able to share their wisdom. And so all those suppliers that are older than me that are more experienced, I mean, they've truly been good partners in helping us grow.
I love that. You hit on like, reaching out to other people, but really listening and gaining their insights and their wisdom. Because as far as if you're young and you're building and you're growing in there, is getting those mentors, right? And having those individuals to help empower you, but it's also checking off the pros and the cons and what to do, what not to do, and how to do it. But also you being big enough to like, okay, I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna soak this all in and I'm gonna listen to it to be able to help guide me. And I think that's really major when it comes to within our industry. And what I love is there's people out there that we can connect to who are willingly open to empower and help us on our journey, right? So, Mike, I just think you're going to be that next person. Someone's going to listen to this and they're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Micah. So, you got to be open for it.
Always happy to help.
I love that. So, within your experience, what are some most effective ways to stay focused, when it comes to your goals?
Focus is a hard thing for me. I think the biggest thing is just discipline and the ability to say no. I had a mentor tell me this a couple of days ago. It's like you just got to get better at saying no. and
Oh,
and I think that's very overlooked for anybody in their career. And it depends what no is. I'm not necessarily saying no, say no to your boss, but you got to have to prioritize some things. That's what helps me stay focused, especially as an entrepreneur. I just look for opportunity, and there's
mm-hmm.
opportunity everywhere. And if
Yeah.
you find a better opportunity and you pursue it, and then you give up 6 months in, and then you find a better opportunity and pursue it, and give up 6 months in, you're never going to go anywhere. So find
No.
find an opportunity and just stick with it.
Yes.
That's how I stay focused, is trying to minimize the amount of things I'm working on so that I can really dive deep into what we're doing.
I like that. I think that's very important point as far as stick with what it is and being focused, right? And being disciplined. Discipline is very hard sometimes, especially when individuals can get discouraged of where they're at in their career or where they're growing or where they're building at. And so they're easily, like you said, to stop and then like you're restarting, stop, just keep going. And I guess that's where you have your mentors and your people or your support crew to sit there and be like, I'm going to help you. We're going to keep you on track. We're going to keep you going, right?
Absolutely. And
So,
yeah, that support crew, I mean, there was a real pivotal time for us. It was about a year and a half into the business. We were making money, but not a lot. And we frankly, I was talking to my wife, we're like, do we want to keep doing this?
mm-hmm.
Are we just beating our heads against the wall for nothing?
Yeah.
And that's a real challenge for entrepreneurs is, okay, am I going down the right path? Because it's really, really hard. And then am
Mm-hmm.
I sacrificing like you have to sacrifice to win, but am I
Yes.
sacrificing and we're going to lose? Like, how is this happening? I need to
Mm-hmm.
make a wise decision. We had a 1 year old at home at the time, and I went to like 3 or 4 different mentors, and they're all like, I think you're a couple months away. And they were right. Like the business changed in a couple months, but I was, this close to giving up, and they kind of helped me stay focused and stick with it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. You got to sacrifice to be able to win, to get to where you want to be. And sometimes that's things that you may not want to, but you got to if it's in you and you have the passions for it. But it is never give up because it'd be that one breaking step. And then you'd be like, oh, why did I give up? I always say that to my listeners or people out there as inspiration is never give up, keep going, keep moving because you never know. And so for you to tap on that, that's really exciting to hear that you have that mindset like that and keeping it positive.
Yeah, yeah. There's no substitute for hard work. Like that's what I tell people. You just got to work hard.
Yeah.
I remember early on, I wore like 4 different uniforms in one day. Woke up, got in my sales outfit, which is jeans and a polo. Then I got in a suit for the AAGD Christmas party, and then I changed in the parking lot to go pick up trash. That was all in one day's work.
Oh
And when you're
gosh.
starting out, it's tough, it's brutal. You got to, sun up to sunrise many times or even later, and it can just get to you, but it's worth it. Keep your head down
Yeah.
and keep working.
You know, I think everyone thinks in when they're coming into entrepreneurship or coming into building or stepping out, even on like, like with myself on faith and doing things. I think we think sometimes like it's going to come because you see it. It's glamorized out there in the social world, right? You're like, oh, we're going to get it. It's going to be done. And you're like, yeah, no, not this year. Oh, next year. Okay, maybe not next year. Third year, boom, it's there, right? Is that persistent and that focus on that. So,
Hmm.
Michael, what is a fun fact about you that no one knows that you want to share, or maybe a story or something that you're like, okay, I could share this?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I've been to Africa about 5 or 6 times, which is a pretty
Oh,
fun fact.
wow.
Growing up, my family did some mission trips to Uganda, and
Okay.
I was in middle school when that happened, so I've been able to grow up with a lot of Ugandans, which has been kind of fun and had
Oh,
some fun
wow.
experiences there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just flying when I was flying to Dallas to go train. I was sitting next to a young lady, and she had this book right there in the middle of us, and it was over theology. And I was sitting here asking her, I was like, I know this book. I was like, is this like, can you talk me through this? Like, are you studying this? Is your major? And she goes, no, yes, it is. It's my master's. I'm working through it. But she was going to a conference in Dallas for a missionary. And so we would just kind of like talk base, back and forth on that. So I really do admire that a lot with that. So, well, I love that. That's a really good fun fact. Anything else you want to share?
No, no, I'm not that interesting.
We're all interesting people. Micah, like, how do you empower others in your community or in your workplace to reach their full potential?
Yeah, I think first thing you gotta identify their potential and share that with them. We've had a strategy of finding underutilized talent from other companies and
Okay.
really trying to capitalize on that. So we're
Yeah.
fortunate that we have a large part-time workforce.
Yeah.
We can identify those studs and move them up the ranks, whether it be part-time and then transition them to full-time. So that's a big thing. And then once someone's on our full-time team, we really tell them we expect a lot from you because we know they can deliver a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
it's fun when you talk to somebody and they're sitting there and they're like, I didn't even think I would ever get to this point. And they
Oh,
have that's one of the most rewarding things. But you got to believe and you got to empower, remove roadblocks, do everything you can to make sure they know they can do it and give them the
mm-hmm.
permission to do it. Give them the permission to fail, give them the permission to make mistakes as long as they're moving in the right direction.
I love that. Can you repeat that? The permission. Give them the permission to fail, the permission to make mistakes. And you said one more tap because I think that is so important as a leader.
Yeah, yeah, no, just it goes back to what we were talking about early on is founding a company. Like, if you want to
Mm-hmm.
move forward, you got to be willing to fail. You got to know that's going
Mm-hmm.
to happen. But as a leader, you can't focus on just 100% preventing failure for your team.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give them an environment where they can go out and try something new, stretch their limits. And if they
Mm-hmm.
fall down, you got to help them back up so they can give it another shot. And eventually they'll hit that mark and they can keep growing. But if you put everybody in a box and say, this is all you can do, don't stretch yourself, don't try to grow unless you can do it right the first time, they're not going to grow that quickly.
That is so true. 100%. It's like you can never put anyone in a box because you're limiting them. You're limiting on
Hmm.
their potential of who they can become. And I think those are very strong characteristics of a leader when it comes to being able to empower and allowing your teams to make mistakes, but also helping them or coaching them through to be able to learn from that and then build on that versus the other way around, where you can sometimes see that in organizations. So I really do like to hear that. In what ways do you encourage or embrace your team's unique gifts or their talents?
Yeah, we just had a conversation about this, me and my top operations leader. It's like, man, everyone brings something different to the table. So we're
Mm-hmm.
trying, we're a work in progress with this. We're really trying to focus in on it. Like, we have one manager, just no misses ever happen in his district. He'll be in charge of thousands and thousands of bags of trash every night, and not a single complaint will come in.
Wow.
This guy needs to be in charge of quality for the whole team because he knows something we don't. And
Yeah.
and the same goes, another person's always, just great at hiring. People come in, they come in quickly, join our team
Mm-hmm.
fast, and then they stay. And so, okay, we
Mm-hmm.
need to we need to focus on this guy's strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we just, lean in and give them the environment where they can do that.
I like that. I think when you really focus on your team members and what they bring to the table, it just adds value, right? And I think sometimes you want to capitalize on that, but you want to focus to where they do this really good versus where they do this very good, because then it brings it all as a unity within your company or within your organization. So, how do you balance or maintain your work life balance between your professional and your personal life, being an owner?
Still figuring it out, but I early on it's tough. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way around it. I did not have that work life balance for the first,
Hmm.
I mean, we're 4.5 years, probably first 3 years.
Yeah.
And it was working crazy hours, crazy amount of time, wake up, go to work, come home, eat dinner with the family, put the kids down, go pick up trash till 2 in the morning. So there was no real balance there. Now I'm a little more balanced. I'm working closer to a normal schedule.
Mhm.
But the most important thing is be present where you are. So if you're working, work. If you're at home, be at home.
Mhm.
Put the cell phone in another room when you're eating dinner. Just
Yeah.
focus on your family and those around you when you're hanging out with friends. Focus on them. Maximize the time that you have. That's what's helped me the most because my workload ebbs and flows. I might have a very, very easy week followed by a very, very hard week. But
Mhm.
during those hard weeks, I can't forget my friends and family. So even though the time might be less, I need to make sure it's quality time.
Yeah. I
And
like
that keeps me refreshed.
it. Yes. I think sometimes if we pull away the phones, right, and pull away that the distractions and be very focused in the moment, boy, you can hear a lot and you can be and you retain a lot, but you it's memories of that situation. And I think sometimes, certain families I know will take all their cell phones and put them in a basket or put them away and be like, no, we're family time or friend time. And, just take that 5 minutes, with that. I think that's all about work life balance. I don't know if it's so much about taking time to refocus and regroup within yourself. But it's very important within your self-care too to have that balance, individual to perform and come 100%, right? I would think so.
No, I agree.
So, what qualities do you believe are most important in a leader, that can come to the organization? What do you think with that?
One of the positions I had before I started OWR, I supported a whole bunch of leaders. So
Mm-hmm.
I worked directly with a lot of leaders in a large organization, and they're all in charge of different groups, and I would support their groups and their people. And I got to know their people before I got to know the leaders. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, man, why is this team just like nice and happy? This team's super angry. And then this team just, there's trash all over the place, like super random qualities. And then over time, as I got settled into the role, I started meeting their leaders. And
Yeah.
it was amazing. The angry teams had an angry leader. The happy teams had a
Mm.
happy leader. The disorganized teams had a disorganized leader. The messy teams had a messy leader. Like even something that doesn't really matter is like, man, there's Dorito wrappers everywhere. Uh, and so I realized like what who a leader is, so is the company, and the leader's the limiting factor.
Mm-hmm.
And every company probably needs different characteristics in a leader based on their
Mm-hmm.
strategic goals and where they're going.
Yeah.
Um, for example, I'm more of a shy, reserved person. Probably not the best leader of a podcast media network. Like I'm not that person. Like I love talking to people. I love being interviewed. I'd probably be a terrible interviewer. So
No, not at
those
all.
outgoing, uh, extroverted skills, like not something that is probably super necessary for a trash company, but
Mm-hmm.
for a media network, it's probably a little more important. And so for me, when I look at the company, one, I just want to be loving to all our people. I think love is extremely underrated in
Mm.
business. We talk about it a lot elsewhere, but loving and actually caring for your people, them just not being a number, I think is the number one quality any leader should have.
Yeah.
And then all those little sub characteristics that can play into building a healthy culture. For us, it's organization. If I say something, I need to do it. I need to be honest with my team
Mm-hmm.
and set the standard. And then how I interact with our property management partners sets the tone for how our team interacts with them as well. And just humbly and honestly and in
Mm-hmm.
a very caring, customer service oriented way, um, approach every interaction we come across.
Yeah, I like how you said that. I think when you bring that love, that's the empathy, right? And being understanding to your team. And I think that's one of the best qualities as a leader can have, or even within an organization, because then you're able to remove this and be able to focus on them in that situation or in that moment. And I think that's something that you don't see a lot. And I think that should be a part of everyone's core values, right? And bringing that to the forefront. And so I 100% agree with you on that, Micah, because I think it's something that we miss in organizations in general. And that's how people thrive. People thrive off of that, and they, and want to be seen and want to be heard and be valued. So I think that's amazing, as well. So, Micah, what are some of your like thoughts or affirmations that you're like, this is going to get me through the day? This is what I'm going to do. I know you said you're like more shy and reserved, and I'm pulling them out. I'm going to pull them out of
Yeah.
you. But what are some things you're like, this is what it is that's going to get me through the day?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's different for most people, but I'm a Christian, so my faith is really what I try to focus on throughout the day. So
Yeah.
saved by grace through faith
Mm,
is my, I guess, motto. So at the
yeah.
end of the day, other things don't really matter to me as much. And I try to
Yeah.
keep that in perspective. And I'm not perfect. I can get really worked up over one missed bag of trash, but that's really where I try to focus, keep my focus on.
I love that. That's so important, and I couldn't agree with you more. That's how you start your day. That's how you get grounded. That's how you put your feet on the ground and have that foundation for the morning. And even though we all get those moments where we sit back and we're like, okay, one thing gets upset. All right, all right, all right. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go. I was just having that inner thought the other day. So So I totally agree with that. And I really do admire that as well. Do you have any lasting thoughts or words that you want to just encourage or inspire the listeners out there when it comes to anything within their personal growth or just how to thrive? And it could be a
Yeah,
two-part question answer.
yeah, no, I would say advice, and we talked on this a little bit when you were like, you know, year one felt different than year three, or feels different than year three, and so on and so forth. You really probably will overestimate what you can accomplish in 1 year, but you'll underestimate what you can accomplish in 5.
Mm-hmm.
And just be patient, play the long game, work hard, enjoy it along the way. But that's my big thing is a lot of times, especially in today's culture, we're used to now people expect instant results when they put in the work, but it takes a long time, and it's going to take longer than you expect, nine times out of 10. So that's my big encouragement is just stay consistent and patient.
I love it. Stay consistent, folks, because again, every day is not going to be a great day, but every day is an improvement to that day, right? And I always like to lead off and say, give yourself grace. Because I think
Yeah,
at the end of the day, we forget that. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Micah, with we're not perfect, right? We're just progressing. And at the end of the day, if you're progressing and you're hitting those milestones, boy, it's a win-win, right? At
right.
the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, our whole sales pitch is we're not perfect. Uh,
Oh, wow. Okay.
don't tell my competitors, but that's what we say. I
Well,
mean,
we're
we're
going
like,
to tell
hey,
all of them out there in the world.
if it's yeah, I know. If we're picking up 400 bags of trash a night at your prop or 400 units a night, 5 nights a week, that's 2,000 opportunities to screw up. We're human. We hire humans. It's probably going to happen, but we're going to fix it. We're going to get out there and we're going to make sure it's fixed. So that's yeah. Imperfection is everywhere.
And that is so true. But I think sometimes, that's it's one of those hard lessons I had to learn with myself because I am a I'm a perfectionist, and I always want to do things right. And then I had to learn through the hard way and through growth and challenges like, okay, it is what it is, and you move on and you do your best. So I like that that's a part of your sales motto. I think that's very, very good. Well, this has been really, really great getting to just dive in and really get to know you a little bit, Micah. I know you are growing and building in the industry and just having the pleasure to kind of just get to know some fun facts, but just really understand your thought leadership of organizations and everything, what inspired and encouraged you or just putting it out there in the world has been amazing. So I do truly appreciate and grateful that you came upon Thriving in Multifamily, a visionary podcast where we really bring great thought leaders into just to kind of talk, right? Chat. We don't have coffee, but I do have bottled water.
I got some hiding.
You got some idea. I should have said it. But again, thank you for tuning in to Thriving in Multifamily, a visionary podcast. And as always, stay visionary out there. Thank you, Micah.
Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Thriving in Multifamily, a visionary podcast. I hope our conversations have inspired you to act and achieve your career goals. Remember, the key to success is to continue learning and growing. And as always, stay visionary. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. Visit multifamilymedianetwork.com to learn more about our industry podcast, thought pieces, and sponsorship opportunities.